Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday. Welcome back to Dalar's Tactics. We're going to be talking about some King Arthur today. Yeah, no, not done yet. This video specifically is going to be going over again the top relics to go for. Now that we have all of these cheap-ish relic selector packs available to buy with crystals. So let's get into it. So if you guys did not know, and I'm sure you know because I've seen at least 2 other content creators cover this topic, but it's pertinent, so I figured I'd dive in as well. With the patch on Tuesday, I think that was the 18th of March. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but we got all of these packs added into the game right here. So they're giving away stuff with diamonds. So if you didn't know, if you're watching this at the time of this recording, they did all the 100-day packs, and the 100-day packs basically topped up everyone's crystals. You can't really see it because it's kind of grayed out, but I'm still sitting on 60,000 crystals myself from those 100-day packs. Now, I did, unfortunately, purchase the Ceres shard or copy and fire relic for 25,000 crystals. That obviously was a mistake, a big mistake. Do I regret it? No, but it was a dumb decision with, foresight. Foresight is always 2020. But anyways, we got all these packs offered to us, so we're not going to talk about these ones, but there was one in here which was offering for, I think it was 5,000 crystals for a relic selector. And you could buy 4 of them. So you can see right here that I've got 3 of them because I did use 1 and I'm hoarding the rest. So this video we're going to go over the current top 10 best other relics that you can use your relic selectors on. Okay? Let's dive into it. So we're going to start at number 1, Morgan. Morgan. So the wind relic, which was previously only available to purchase for $70, I've said in multiple videos that they've made it really hard to not want to spend some money on this relic, given how much this will elevate your account in this game. Why is this relic so good? Well, 2 reasons. For PvP, or not PvP, PvE, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. For PvE, this relic is the best. It is absolutely the best. This AoE, which inflicts defense down 2 times 2, so 40 times 2, that's 80% defense down. You can just mow through content with your damage dealers. On a 2-turn or on an S2 AoE, it's just absolutely insane. Do not disregard how much of an impact this defense decrease 2 times 2 is in PvE modes. So that alone makes this the number 1 most wanted relic outside of base relics in the game. But also, I find myself in certain situations using this one as well a lot. I would say more so, or most often in Forbidden Dungeon Hard. If there's just a wave of enemies that I want to keep CC'd while my other team is doing the rest to what they have to do to kill them, this AoE sleep, and it's not 100%, it is 60%, but I've also used it for the AoE recovery disruption. Now, there is a current stage, I don't know which one, in Forbidden Dungeon Hard, where you have Vivian and 3 Arduins. And there's another fight right around there where this AoE heal disruption or recovery disruption is the key, in my opinion, to passing those levels. So these 2 things, the S3 and the S2 combined, make the Wind Relic the most number 1 best relic to go for with those relic selectors. Number 2 is, we're just going to stay on Morgan, is going to be her Ice Relic. When I first started playing the game, it was always a toss-up between Morgan Frost or Jillian Frost as the best relics to go for in the game outside of base relics. Now, I watched Loki's video, and I took this away from it. I remembered it because I'm going to make the same point. If you don't care at all about PvP, this relic's going to fall way down on the list. This relic, while the S2 is nice, like for Yaskelhaig, and we have so many tools to beat Yaskelhaig now at this point in the game's life cycle, but this buff stripping, so 40% independent chance for the second hit to remove 2 buffs. That used to be just awesome in Yaskelhaig, because you could, Yaskelhaig puts on evasion buffs and stuff, and this just removes them. And I don't even have this maxed yet. This can get up to 50% chance, so a 50-50 chance to remove some buffs. Plus, there's also the damage taken increased too, but for 3 turns. That's also really, really, really good. But for PvP specifically, this is the ability we're using most often. And if you don't have Morgan Frost Relic in PvP, that kind of just negates a whole lot of the worth of the speed go first serpent team. Because what you really want to do is you want to use this S3, which is 100% chance to charge one ally's attack gauge by 70%, effectively making them 100% turn meter, and they can just go instantly. But wait, there's more. 100% chance to grant each ally attack increase 2, which is 40% increased attack for 2 turns, and grant each ally a small shield for 3 turns. So it's really this turn meter swap. It's not really a swap, but turn meter boost ability coming with all of that attack buffing that makes this just able to, you pass it to your attack dealer, and then they just nuke the enemy. Right. So this one, I am putting it at number 2, but with the caveat of if you don't care about PvP, this one's going to be way down on the list, and it might not even show up on the list. So number 3, and some people are going to put this as number 1, is Nacoa Frost. Why do people love Nacoa Frost so much? Well, again, it is more so in PvP. Specifically because when you do her big AoE heal, it doesn't also attack. That's it. Because the fire attacks all enemies and then do all this. Whereas the frost does not do that. There is no attack. And why that is so critical for PvP is because you know it. We always go up against Anyas in PvP. What does Anya do? She slams you for hitting her when she counterattacks. If Nacoa can heal and not attack her, not do damage to Anya, then you're going to forego all that counterattack damage. It's a much more, like I said, it's a PvP focused relic. So again, if you're not PvP focused, you can kind of forget about this one. Number 4, because remember we had Morgan Wind, Morgan Frost, Nacoa Frost. Number 4, I had him down further on this list, and I had to put him back up there because a lot of us forget, given that we've had him so long, a lot of us forget how transformational Sergius Fire Relic was. We all know why. It's his S3, 100% independent chance to charge attack gauge of all allies, your whole team, including himself, by 60%. That alone, that just allows you to build up the TM loop and just keep going and going and going and going until you win. For PvE, this relic is, I was going to say, arguably the second best under Morgan Wind Relic or Morgan Storm Relic. So where I have this as number 4 on the list, again, if you don't care about PvP and you just care about PvE, this would be number 2 under that Morgan Storm. So yeah, don't forget about this. Everybody, this is a free-to-play relic. You should not actually use your selector on this. Caveat that. I know I'm kind of framing this video around what you should use those relic selectors on. It should not be this. This is just his off-base relic that is still that good in the game. If you really, really, really want it, by all means, spend that selector on it. But just know that all you need to get this in the game is time in a clan. Because you get copies of Sergius through the arena store, and then you get this relic from the clan store. But I'm still putting it at number 4. Number 5. Number 5 is going to be Iwaret fire. So, if you're just coming into the game now, you're a brand new player, just started 2 weeks ago. You missed out on an event. I do believe it was the Charlotte dungeon event. And there was a special shop for that dungeon event, for the currency you got from that event. And in that shop was this relic. And it was just flabbergasting, to say the least, the fact that they were just giving this away. Because this is, in my opinion, Iwaret's best relic. Why? Okay. So Iwaret comes in Frost. Frost, just Frost alone is also very, very, very good. But Frost, you got to use this S3. Attacks the enemy 3 times. Deals additional damage if there's a mark. Deals a lot of damage. And then the S2 gives you all your buffs. But the S2 doesn't come with any offensive capabilities. That's why fire is so good, This now, the S3 is just, it's attack all enemies. Deal additional damage 1 time if the target has mark. So that's kind of the same as Frost. Whereas Frost only hit 1 person. Now, the fire S3 is a massive AoE attack. But that S2 now is basically Frost's S3. So you get basically 2 big nuke attacks. One of them being an AoE, one being a single target. In one relic. So this attack one enemy 3 times. This was basically kind of this right here. Lesser damage. It's an S2. It's not going to hit as hard, but it still does really, really good damage. And then if the first hit is a critical strike, then you're going to gain crit damage 3. You're going to gain crit strike rate increase 2, and you're going to inflict mark. So Fire Relic is just a massive, massive damage dealing relic on the S3 and the S2. And we've all seen it in PvP. Morgan buffs up Iwaret with her S3 on the Frost Relic, which we already discussed. And then Iwaret comes in and slams that S3 and just wipes out your entire team. Wipes out the entire team. It is nasty. So this is number 5. Number 6. Number 6 on our list is Anya Wind. Okay. Now, we're going to briefly discuss about all of Anya's relics. She comes in Frost. Frost is fine. Frost has a lot of support capabilities, remove debuffs, remove dots, and then grant each ally attack increase 2. That is good. And she can hit really hard in Frost as well when you have her up over C4 and she's counterattacking. Fire is really good, but specifically Fire is used for the portage, or the Harpy dungeon that they just added to the game. Why is Wind good? As I forcibly remove a lung from my body. Oh, my face looks so bad. The reason why Wind is so nice is it's kind of lost a little bit of the luster from when it kind of reigned supreme as one of the best alternative relics. And the reason why is because back in the day we were using more Frost heroes. So in Arena, I'm just like this, 2 months ago, we were running a Lance lead or a Cormac lead, which both would have been Frost, Morgan Frost, Bedivere Frost, and this relic basically just wiped out your team if you had Frost heroes on it. It's still really, really good, and why it's really, really good is, the Frost, which is the base relic, when she does her S3, all this does is gives buffs, right? Dot immunity, defense increase, blah, 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 blah. But with the Wind relic, now we're getting some actual attack capability. So she is going to grant debuff immunity, which is nice, but then she's also going to attack all enemies, dealing, this much damage, and then she's going to follow that up with that big mollywop hit that scales off of her effect resistance. So, whereas the Frost Relic, it really makes Anya a super support unit, which she is a support unit at the end of the day. She's still support. When you have her Frost and her Fire Relic, Frost, Wind and Fire Relic, that turns her also into an offensive superpower. So I'm still putting this one on the list, but I'm going to put it at number 6. I do believe it was a little bit higher last time I did this video because of the reasons of, arena teams have changed. People are now putting in units to that are kind of resilient against wind, like Iwaret fire. So if you take in this relic versus an Iwaret fire, she's just going to wipe you out because of the elemental bonus. So it lost a little bit of its luster, but it's still quite fabulous. I would recommend it all day, every day. But it's down there at number 6. Number 7, before Forbidden Dungeon relaunched for Season 6, I was almost considering dropping this down a little bit down the list. But then I used it a whole bunch in those first 30 floors of Forbidden Dungeon Hard. And it reminded me just how powerful Lot's Fire Relic is. Now, Lot, we're not going to get into Lot as a hero. He's got so much going on with this kit. He comes in Frost. Frost is okay. My Frost Relic is only at level 50. That's kind of crazy. Let's just fix that right now. Boom. Frost is okay, but when you get Fire and you got this S2, attack one enemy 3 times. Hits for a decent amount of damage, 204% of attack. Not that you're really building Lot for a lot of attack, but it's this 65% chance for that last schmack to inflict Brainwash for 2 turns. Brainwash is the ultimate control ability in this game, in my opinion. It can't be removed when hit. It's just going to stay there for 2 turns and then fall off, but you can reapply it. And you can refresh that 2 turns. Targets attack their own team. For a place like Forbidden Dungeon Hard where the enemies hit very, very hard, this is very, very special. Very, very powerful. And then there's also the Oblivion. So Oblivion, I would say that the S3 is not as important as the S2. Attacks all enemies, not a lot of damage. Really, the S2 is doing more damage, but then an 80% chance to inflict Oblivion for 1 turn. What is Oblivion, you may ask? The target forgets how to use their passive skills. So, like Forbidden Dungeon Normal 92, I do believe, this was like the key to make that fight easy. Back in the day, that fight alone was so maddening. If you had this relic, it instantly made it a cheat code to beat that dungeon, made it trivial, instantly elevated up this relic, up the chain to most wanted on an off relic list. Now you got a selector, now I would get it. I would go for it. If you really care about high level Forbidden Dungeon, because outside of Forbidden Dungeon, you're not really going to use the Frost or the Fire Relic very often for Lot. In PvP, I still run his Ice Relic. So this one, a caveat, it's down there. What do I got? That 7th on my list. Only go for this if you really want to push higher levels in Forbidden Dungeon, but then also keep in mind that Forbidden Dungeon changes to season, and that it's I don't want to say it's not a requirement. There are other ways to get around Forbidden Dungeon Hard, although where this really makes it easy, it makes it a lot easier. So, number 7 on the list. Number 8. Okay. So, this used to be higher. I used to be a lot more, enthusiastic about this relic. So, this is Merlin's Fire Relic. So, the reason why I was so enthusiastic about this back in the day, 2 months ago, was because this relic single-handedly makes Tarrasque, which at the time was the hardest dungeon in the game. This relic will single-handedly make Tarrasque very, very, very easy. Now, it's because of this S3. So, 100% chance to grant, that's not it, right here. 100% independent chance to inflict attack gauge disruption for 2 turns. Why is this good? Because Tarrasque works all around that attack gauge ability. So if you get this on the right limb, I think it's the right limb or the left limb. I don't know, one of the limbs. I can't remember because it's mirror image. Yeah. Basically, though, you put this on Tarask. Tarask can't gain turns, and then you can kill Tarask. It's just very, very simple. Also, you're going to give your allies debuff immunity, and then crit strike damage 2 for 2 turns. That's an extra 40% crit strike damage, which is really, really handy to nuke Tarask once you got his attack gauge under control. So I'm still putting this one as number 8 on the list, specifically because without it, Tarask can still be kind of menacing. He really can. There are other teams you can use. Like, you can bring in a Sarah to inflict attack gauge disruption, but she can only do it on that one limb, and then she doesn't do anything else. That's the only thing she brings to that fight. She also has buff block, which, you're going to use that as well, but bringing in a damage boosting buffs and attack and an AoE attack gauge disruption, it's still really, really clutch if you want to farm that dungeon in under a minute, right? If you just want to do a whole bunch of Tarask runs, this makes it really, really easy. Like Lot Fire in some Forbidden Dungeon hard mode, Merlin Fire is completely easy mode, cheat code for Tarask 10, and almost required for high level clan boss. Tarask is in clan boss, so clan raid. So as such, it's still got a place number 8 on the list. Now, Number 9, we're going to talk about old Lancelot Frost. Now, Lancelot Frost, for the most part, is a PvP weapon. Why? Because of the S3, this attack all enemies 3 times with an independent chance to inflict freeze. Freeze is really, really nice because it's a CC and it can't be broken on hit. So you're basically, if you freeze the enemy, they're just going to gain their attack gauge bar and then lose a turn. They just lose an attack. Just outright lose it. Which is really, really nice. Now, it is only a 55% chance. That's just better than a coin flip. But when it hits a couple people on your enemy team in PvP, it does the job. Oh, poor lungs. I don't know why. So, but it's where... It's kind of like Morgan's Relic, where, yes, I would say its primary use is in PvP. It does have PvE applications, because we know that the Fire Relic, which is a dot relic, you have the AoE burns, or dots, on the S3. There are also dots on the Frost Relic. They just come in as a single target, and it's on an S2. So it's cheaper to use, and you can run this in a comp if you don't want, say like Gorgos in Clan Boss or the dungeon itself. If you want to kill a limb and you don't want to apply dots to the body, kind of want to bring in the Frost Relic and just use the S2, saves vigor, lets your Anguish or your Rosie do their S3 more. You're still inflicting dots. You can inflict 3 of them because it's 90% chance each hit to inflict a dot. It does have some PvE uses as well, even though I would still say that it's primarily used for this one for crowd control and PvP. Plus, Lance is still a universal speed lead, which is why I think he is still decent for PvP, because in Clan Wars, there's only 2 units you can use for a speed lead. Ceres and Lance. All right. So number 9 on the list. But much like Nika Frost, much like Morgan Frost, if you don't care about PvP, you can almost skip this. Although it does, like those ones, well, like Morgan Frost, it does have niche uses in PvE as well. Number 10. Now, that's funny, because I still put Morgan Frost as number 2. This used to be, at launch, the second most wanted off relic in the game. And now it is absolutely at the bottom of my top 10 list for non-base off relics. Why did people care so much about this? Because it made her S2 an AoE heal. Even though it was small, 30% chance to heal each ally whereas the fire was just 100% chance to heal the ally with the lowest HP. Still does attack gauge disruption, right? 60% chance to reduce the target's attack gauge. Attack one enemy. Still 100% chance to heal the ally with the lowest HP. But it was an AoE heal. Now, we have this hero named Nika, who just spams heals, just gives them away like it's candy at an Easter parade. Do we still have Easter parades? I think so. Hope that reference still lands. Aging myself there. So I would still say this is a decent relic in comparison to the honorable mentions. But it is definitely way down there on the list. So if you, let's I'm going to bring this in here. Okay. If you just cared about PvE. Oh, lost it. It's gone. It's gone. Here we go. Okay. If you just care about PvE, this is what you'd want to get. Morgan Wind, Sergius Fire, Iwerit Fire, Ain Wind, Lot Fire, Merlin Fire, and you could skip the rest. So the ones that I would say are the must gets with those 4 tickets is Morgan Wind. If you want PvP, if you care about PvP, then it's Frost, Nika Frost. If you only care about PvE, then you're going to want to go, probably not that though. We'll just make that a lighter color because this is free to play acquirable. You'd probably want to go Morgan Wind, Iwerit Fire. So Ain Wind, you can get by using Ain otherwise. You might want to consider something like this. Especially if you're brand new to the game, you would want to go Morgan Wind for PvE, just easy mode. Iwerit Fire for PvE damage, easy mode. I got to move this to the side. Merlin Fire to make Tarask really easy. And then with your 4th selector, you can, if you really want to care about pushing Forbidden Dungeon, then maybe you would go something like that. Or if you don't care about Forbidden Dungeon, then maybe you would want to go something like, especially if you don't have Nika, then you would want to go Jillian Frost. Right? Now, let's put all that back. If you are a balanced player and you care about both PvE and PvP, then I would probably go definitely these ones. And then this one. Like I said, Sergius Fire you can get for free, but it takes time. If you're rushing, then and you don't want to save the currency, then you can just use the selector and get it. But probably not. But I still got to put it on the list because it's an off relic. So there you go. And this list is also in my spreadsheet that is linked in the description of this video. Honorable mentions: Clarison Frost, Gawain Fire, Florentius Frost, Ceres Fire, Sigrun Wind, Anya Fire, which we discussed. Oh, I got Ceres on there twice. Let's just get rid of that. Iwerit Wind, which is niche. Charlotte Fire for Portage Dungeon. And then Vivian Frost for higher level clan boss Gorgos. And then here are some rares to consider. So like I said, this spreadsheet is linked in the description of this video. I do believe it was that color. Let's get rid of it now. And we'll wrap up the video. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a much more complicated way of going about how to use 4 selectors. If you have the crystals, I think it's 20,000 crystals you would need to buy it, which is hilarious because they were selling one single relic for 25,000 crystals, not just last week. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be it. That's all for today. I hope this was informative. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend. Cheers, peace, bye-bye.